Without there we go. All right, so welcome to our all staff meeting. As y'all know, all staff meetings are all staff members, no AmeriCorps, not to be confused with an all team meeting, which does include AmeriCorps. And so today on July 20th, Thursday, we're going to go through a number of great things and give updates across SBP. So first, we'll hear a client story from Elizabeth, our first Hurricane Ian welcome home. Zach's going to talk a little bit about mid-year impact and our themes that are driving our work. We're going to have a mid-year scorecard progress update and some highlights from Liz, and then program updates, specifically the disaster preparedness response update from Ryan. We'll have some HR updates and reminders, and then of course we will conclude with some shout outs. So without further ado, I will hand it to Elizabeth to lead us through this great client story. Elizabeth?
Yeah. Hey, everybody. I had the privilege of attending the first Southwest Florida welcome home party a couple weeks ago. And you all know, such a beautiful occasion and reminder of why we do all this work. The family that was welcomed home is Nareda Cabrera, her fiance, Alfonso, and their 5 kids who range in age from 6 to 17. Their Hurricane Ian story was, it was approaching, they decided to evacuate to Kansas with family, understanding that a couple of the family members have asthma. That is no situation to stick around in the heat and loss of power. And so after they returned from their evacuation, they realized that their home was completely uninhabitable. And so for 6 months, they were hopping from hotels to couches, to family and friends, trying their best to, bring the home back to a livable state. Nareda talks about how during this time with 5 kids, I can't imagine not having access to laundry or the, simple things that maybe some of us take for granted, like having a stove. And so we met her, Angelina and Pamela, brought them into first our Shark program, which is funded by the state of Florida, that allows for temporary repairs so that families can, shelter in place. But because of funding through Red Cross and Center for Disaster Philanthropy, we were able to go from there to a complete rebuild. And so the family was able to move out of 2 trailers that they were living in from behind their house and into their home. And I got to say, the kids were so grateful and excited, showing us where their rooms were and just, generally appreciative. There was a really special moment when, I guess prior to, we had learned that the kids lost a bunch of their replaceable items like sports equipment and backpacks, and some not so replaceable gifts from their grandmother who recently passed away. And so some donors came together and put money together for a gift card and presented the kids with just a little spending money to be able to replace some of those replaceable items. And then our friends at Lowe's provided us a gift card for Nareda to use either towards a washer dryer or anything that she needs for the house. And so I just want to give a huge kudos to Pamela and Angelina and Dave and Stephen and Hunter, and of course, led by Thomas, for really being amazing in Southwest Florida and really statewide and running that temporary repairs program. As you can see, we've completed, or at least at last count, 63 projects to date through that program and have a whole bunch in progress. But of the entire statewide program, I think the last we checked, there were 70 completions, and SBP has done 63 of them. So it's incredible progress for this team, and we're all, just really proud of their work. And then also the disaster assistance program team is crushing it. They're helping survivors increase their awards by over 90%. If that doesn't tell you there needs to be an upstream change, I don't know what does. And so kudos to that team for, increasing those awards and helping those families have predictability. That's all I got. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Really appreciate the update and client story. Zach, I will turn it over to you, sir, to lead us through some themes that are guiding our work.
Thanks, Kyle, and thanks, Elizabeth, for sharing, and Angelina and Pamela and the team for driving such important impact in Florida. I'll tell you, the image of kids like eagerly grabbing someone by the hand and running them through the house to show the guests their room is profoundly heartwarming to me. I hope it is for you. And I think the only thing more heartwarming than that is how it must feel for their parents to see the kids with such joy. And that's what we're doing. The scaled impact work is going to prevent the need for that. We want to prevent the need for kids to have suffered than being overjoyed when they're finally taking people to their house. But we're still doing an awful lot of build work, just under 600 homes this year. And so I want you guys to have that, sear that image into your mind. Imagine what the kids' smiles were. Imagine what it meant to Miss Narita, and be super proud of it. I'm proud and thankful for you. As you know, we held an impact call earlier this month. I really encourage everyone to watch the video. The development team did an awesome job preparing for it. You would have heard the story there. Go watch the video, please. Anya will put a link in the chat. The team did an amazing job of highlighting the work and impact that each of you are driving so far this year. And it's really showing what we do, this on the ground doing work, whether it's DAP or rebuilding work, driving the scaled impact and the system change. It's working. You can see it. You'll hear about the wins that the various teams are driving. And please, as you're hearing about it, pay attention, but also think about the interconnected nature of SBP's work and what underlies some of those scaled impact and system change wins. I now want to look forward. First half of the year, fantastic. Second half of the year, got a lot of work to go because there's a lot of people and communities that are in need of help. There's two themes that I'd love it if people can lean into and use as a lens for the rest of the year. First of all, it's halftime. We're going into the locker room. We're in the game. There's some things that we might want to do more of. There's some things that we might want to cut. But now is an opportunity to reconsider how that first half went and what we're going to do on, like, for you in your role and with your team, what adjustments you're going to make so that we win this second half of the season. It's essential. We can do it. And the way you go about your work and the intentionality that you apply is going to make an amazing difference in people's lives. Some people, like Miss Narita and her family, people who we know, and others who will never know SBP, will never know them, but the system worked better because of SBP for them. It's all important. So that's the first theme. Halfway through the year, let's think, let's be intentional. What are we going to do to win and achieve our goals for the second half of the year? Second theme, and I hope this comes through, right? Some of our work is direct work. That direct work informs, drives, and requires the scaled impact and system change work. Regardless of where you are in the continuum, what you're doing is vital. It's either driving others or informed by others. We're either learning things that we're sharing or we really got to listen. As we're focusing on the goals for ourselves and our team this year, I think it's essential understanding this connectivity of SBP that we're thinking about what we can do to make other departments successful. Liz spoke with a board member and leader the other day who really drove home that point. 80% of our time should be focused, laser focused on achieving our goals. And the other 20% of our time really can be focused on how can we make the organization win? How can we support our team, our colleagues in their goals? I'm so proud of you. This has been an amazing first start of the year. I won't say disaster season is coming because as we know, and you know better than I do, it's always the season. You're doing great. Let's consider, let's think, and let's be super intentional as we drive through this second part of the year. I'm now really glad to pass it on to Liz to walk through where we are. Thanks, folks.
Thanks, Zach, and hi, everybody. Really great to have this time to connect and chat a little bit about progress in the first half of the year. First, let me just say thank you to all of you for your contributions, your incredible effort, and all of the great success that we've had this year. SBP is growing, and your work, whether you're doing direct work with clients or you're working with our NGO partners and government partners, or you're working on the advocacy side to change the very systems that we're working hard to disrupt and change. Just thanks for what you're doing, and thank you for working together and seeing really how all of our work is interconnected. So I am very fortunate to get to highlight some things that I think are going well, and some areas where we're falling behind, but I'm excited about some of the pivoting that teams are doing so that they can get back on track. So let me just start first with a big shout out to the build team. The operating sites are really doing an exceptional job this year. We are well on our way to achieving and actually surpassing this goal of 544 builds and new builds. So just really nice job to everybody who's showing up every day, getting out into communities and working on our clients' homes. In addition to that, we are gonna really far exceed our equity preservation goal. A lot of that I'm learning is stemming from the fact that some of the properties in Florida have higher property value, but I think just overall, we're learning so much about how our work is helping homeowners preserve their most valuable asset, which is their home. One thing I do want to highlight is that we're a little behind on volunteer instances. To date, we've had just shy of 5,000 volunteer instances, which no doubt is really impressive. And I know there have been some challenges along the way, and just want to give April a shout out as she continues to test and try and work with operating sites to come up with new ideas and ways to recruit new volunteers, encourage past volunteers to come back and make the experience as engaging and meaningful as possible. There's lots of good stuff that's going on in the build program. I would encourage you to take some time to review the goals for this year. I'm not going to read you everything on this slide. I am going to hop over though and talk a little bit about Advocate. I think we're making some really great progress with the RAF program, and you're going to hear more about that at the end of this call, and a couple of shout outs for things that are going well. And the DAP team continues to make really good progress. We're behind on hitting our goal of $4 million in increased awards, but they have helped survivors access more than $1 million this year. And that's a huge amount of money that's going directly into survivors' pockets. And they're also working diligently to hit that goal of 1,000 appeals. There have certainly been some challenges along the way, and I'm really grateful to the DAP team for being so open to testing and trying new things that will ultimately help them get really close to this goal of filing 1,000 appeals this year for survivors who really need that help and support. So big thanks and shout out to that team. I also want to take a minute to just applaud the Advise team. These folks have been on the road and working really hard. First and foremost, they're on track to hit their goal of through training and contract work with governments and providing really important services that are reaching many, many, many more survivors through their programs. They're also hitting this revenue goal that they have of $2 million. Spent a lot of time on the road. Just want to say thank you. Appreciate all of the hard work that this team is doing day in and day out. The other thing that I want to highlight is that the Fellows program is ahead on their goal of $8 million for the year. And what our 3 fellows are doing is working in their respective communities, helping community leaders access additional funding for mitigation. And they are well on their way to surpass the initial goal. So just big shout out and thanks to our fellows for being brave new leaders in their communities and being willing to try and test and be a little bit uncomfortable as we think of ways to ensure that at-risk communities have the funding that they need to be better prepared in the face of future perils. So just huge shout out to the Advise team. I also want to take a minute to recognize our colleagues on the Salesforce team. You guys are really doing a beautiful job. I am so excited about the number of people within SBP who have access to and are using Salesforce regularly, and how the data that we're gathering from these programs, it's also very centrally located and easier, way easier to access than it's ever been before, will continue to help bring those connection points between our direct service work, our scaled impact, and our systems change work. So just thanks to the Salesforce team. And I also want to give a big shout out to Jen Beaver in comms. Some of you have seen, but many of you have not seen that she is leading our efforts to update the website, thinking about really primarily now design and layout. And while there's still much work ahead, really just excited about how an updated website is going to help the outside world much more easily understand what it is that we're doing, why it's so important, and how they can get involved and stay connected with SBP in our efforts in various communities. And then Jen's doing a whole lot more. So just thanks, Jen. I know that it's been, you've been part of a small team this year, and really appreciate all of your efforts. And then just 2 other things I want to highlight. Boy, is the HR team doing an amazing job of bringing on new talent. Just shout out to the team there. We have been adding new positions at SBP, and it's really exciting to see the breadth of talent and the diversity that they've been able to attract to the organization. So welcome to all of our new colleagues, and just a big thanks to the HR team. And lastly, finance challenge us at the beginning of the year to save money, y'all. And we're doing it. So really just thank you, Keith and Nicole, for your leadership there, for making us a little bit uncomfortable around saving money. Just thanks for all the little things that everybody's doing day in and day out to help us achieve this goal. Really appreciate it. And I don't want to be too Pollyanna-ish here and jump over every area that we're behind. There are certainly areas where we're behind. And I know that with the folks that I'm working with directly and leading, we're using and will use this point in the year to say, what do we need to tweak and refine so that we can charge ahead in the second half of the year and work to achieve the goals that we set out to achieve. And those tweaks might be big or small, depending on the program or department that you're in. And I so appreciate Zach's comments about, yes, we all need to stay focused on our goals 80% of the time, but then the other 20% of the time looking left and looking right, sort of saying, how could I work with my colleagues to not only achieve my goals, but help them achieve theirs? And so just appreciate that lens as we think about making some pivots and adjustments for the second half of the year so that we can really finish strong. So with that, I am going to hand the mic over to our new colleague, Ryan Morgan, who is our new Director of Disaster Response. And he's going to talk about some of the recent work that he's been doing in new communities. So Ryan, take it away.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. So I have been working in Mississippi and will be going to Vermont here next week shortly to address the flooding in Vermont. But a couple things I want to make note of for everyone's attention is that the severity and frequency of storms is increasing. Currently, the Gulf of Mexico is sitting at about 88 degrees Fahrenheit. Normally it sits at about 85. off the coast of Florida. Normally it sits about 85 degrees. It's currently sitting at around 87 degrees. This is happening more and more frequently. Extreme temperatures causing extreme weather. The current forecast for hurricane season is at 18 storms. It was predicted to be 15 at the start of the season, so they've increased it. Major storms were set to increase to 4 from the level of 2, so that's a 50% increase. With that being said, now is the time to prepare. I know Zach says that we're in halftime, but we're really like at the third quarter right now because August and September are the hot months for hurricanes. So I implore you to check your checklist, make sure your teams are good to go, make sure you have a plan. Otherwise, we could put ourselves in a disadvantageous position and therefore not be able to serve the communities that we've promised to help. So with that being said, in Vermont right now, large flooding has hit Vermont, Pennsylvania, New York, now Kentucky, throughout the northeast part of the United States. Severe tornadoes have dropped down. Tornadoes have dropped down in Chicago recently. There have been 4 hurricanes so far this season. None have hit the U.S., but there have been 4 that have been formed and have been and since dissipated. So just something to be aware of. And it's not going to be getting any better anytime soon. We're not really equipped, America isn't, to handle the frequency and intensity of these storms. We lack the experience. We don't have the personnel to respond, and we have an outdated infrastructure. For instance, my home city of New Orleans, the pumping stations to pump flood water out of the city are over 100 years old. When Katrina happened, they had been talking about fixing the levees and upgrading the levees past the level of Category 3 for 30 years. New Orleans got all this money after Hurricane Katrina. You would think that say, hey, now's the time to upgrade the levees to maybe a Category 4, Category 5 level. They did not. They brought it back to level 3. So you have 100-year-old pumps and weakened levee system. That's just one city. Now imagine that going on throughout America. And last but not least, many organizations are not designed, or it's not their purpose to stay past the initial response of a storm. They hand out food, they hand out water, maybe some shelter, some mucking and gutting, but they leave shortly after. I'm on these Vermont VOAD calls right now, and organizations are already planning to leave by the end of next week to move on to the next disaster. So what happens then is, can you hit the next slide for me, Kyle? Is this right here. This was Rolling Fork, Mississippi, 2 months after the EF3 tornadoes hit in March. And this is what it looked like. So this is in West Rolling Fork, Mississippi. As you can see, all those slabs were once homes. And I've counted 4 so far, 5, 6, 7, 8. This was 2 months after the tornadoes hit, and the entire town looked like this. The town's only about 1,800 people. The entire town looked like this. With such a violent storm, you would expect more people to be working on their homes or contract work. I didn't see anyone out there. I saw one house getting worked on 2 days in a row by the same crew of contractors, and that was it. The mayor was also the town, he owned the town funeral home. The deputy emergency manager also ran the town's newspaper. The majority of the fire department and police department was volunteer. They had one gas station in the area, one grocery store in the area, a couple fast food restaurants, and that was it. Next town over in Silver Fork, I met a woman who was 74 years old who lived by herself. In her neighborhood, there were 4 buildings that was retirement homes, 3 single-family homes, and a church all with shingle roofs. The tornado ripped all the roofs off or hit it with trees, just demolished the neighborhood, and her roof had a tin roof on it. So I started talking to her, and I asked her if she needed any help, just getting her story. She said that FEMA gave her $9,000 to replace her roof on her house, which was 1,500 square feet. That's why she had a tin roof instead of a shingle roof. She also did not get enough money to clean out the backside of her house, which was still water damaged 2 months later. So she just had it taped off, taped and tarped, and blocked off from the rest of the home. She hadn't had the money yet to fix it. This is what happens when organizations leave and then we don't show up. A town is forgotten. No one knows where all these people live. And I asked her where her neighbors were. She said, well, some are living with family in Jackson. Some have since moved on to another city. So this can happen if we do not do our job and do it well and early and often. Next slide, please. All right, so Energy wants to partner with us to help out Rolling Fork. Currently, we are trying to put together a in-person training in August to from the advice team, from the share team, and from the DAP team. It is not set in stone yet, but it is in the works. This is from a private entity. This is not from FEMA or from any other NGOs or from the city itself. This was completely a private entity asking us to help. If we were not helping, no one else would. This town has literally been left for dead and forgotten. As far as Vermont goes, in the New England flooding, the problem with that area is not the fact that they don't have the funding or resources. Their problem is that they're sparsely populated and isolated. For instance, the capital of Montpelier, just north of that, 20 miles, is Cabot, which got hit pretty hard by the flooding. It's only 20 miles away, but it's going to take me about 45 minutes to get there due to the fact that I have to go through a mountain range. And if you go south to Ludlow, it's only about 90 miles away, but it's going to take me 2.5 hours to get there because I have to go through a mountain range. On the way there, there's a couple towns and valleys that are about 200 to 500 people, which I'm sure if I had to put money on it, will probably be forgotten when money starts getting handed out and the emergency service come to help. So I'm looking to find those type of places. So far, Angela has been great putting together recovery 101 trainings and muck and gut trainings for the citizens and NGO organizations. And I'm looking to push DAP once I get there to let them know that the application process and application filing process is about to close. So that's my goals, and I will hand it off to the next person.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ryan. Liz, I would like to invite you back because I think you had some additional.
Thanks, Kyle. And hey, Ryan, just thank you for walking us through all of that. So team, just a couple more things I want to share about Ryan in this new role. We're thrilled to have you, and we're excited for you to bring your experience and knowledge in the Coast Guard to help us create a clearer, better, smarter process with respect to response. And so whether it's bringing Recovery 101 trainings, or in the case of Vermont, bringing DAP trainings to communities that otherwise, as you have said, would really be forgotten, and then seeing opportunities to connect some of those initial activities with other SBP interventions, depending on our capacity to do more in those regions. So really excited to have Ryan help us think through processes and how to bring more structure to our response activities. Second is I'm really excited, Ryan, that you're in this role because you're really helping to build the capacity of SBP and take some things off of others' plates and have it all centralized with you with respect to response, which means that other teams who already have commitments can continue to make progress on those activities, whether it's training, whether it's providing FEMA appeals, whether it's working with NGOs or governments. So this role is really helping to build our capacity. And also it's new. So there, just appreciate everyone, and including Ryan, as we kind of go through this transition right now. And just thanks to everybody who participated in the disaster simulation, and really excited for Ryan and Angela to be going to Vermont next week to have together to have the experience of talking to community residents and leaders and NGO leaders to figure out how we can best support that region over the next weeks and months. So just thank you, Ryan. And then lastly, and I know Kyle and the HR team have done a really nice job of this, but it's that time of year. So please make sure that all of your contact information, that your evacuation plans, that your own personal emergency kits are ready to go. We're leaders in this space. And so as leaders in this space, we all have to practice what we preach. So please take some time, if you haven't done that, as soon as you can, to get yourself positioned for success when the next weather event comes to your area. Many of us live, as you guys know, in high-risk areas. So it's super important that we are ready to go because other communities are really counting on us. So again, just thank you, Ryan. Welcome to the team. And again, if anyone has questions, ideas, or concerns as we think about this new director of response role, please feel free to reach out directly to Ryan or to me. We'd love any feedback or questions that you have. All right, Kyle, I will hand it back to you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Liz. All right, so some HR updates and forecasting for quarter 3. Open enrollment is starting. Our new healthcare plans go in effect August 1st, and tomorrow, both our stateside staff members and our Puerto Rico staff members are invited to open enrollment meeting that will be led by our benefits broker, Hub, and then for Puerto Rico, Hub and Triple S. Just as a reminder, those invites are on your calendar. Please, if you are stateside staff or Puerto Rico, please attend those meetings. The stateside one is at 10 a.m. Central tomorrow. Puerto Rico is at 3 p.m. Atlantic time. So please make sure you come. We'll also be recording those meetings for anyone that can't attend, but please, it'll be helpful for you to attend and ask questions if you have them. Some upcoming lunch and learns tomorrow. Helen will be leading us through the prepare intervention. So that one is going to be fantastic. And we've got a packed August. So Salesforce reporting and dashboard with Brittany on August 4th. And then the second installment of Excel with Excellence, Part 2 Masterclass with Kristen on August 18th. So please attend those. I did want to give just a quick notice that we are up again for best places to work for 2023. We've won it 2 times in a row. This is a specific New Orleans honor. And so I just wanted to highlight, and there will be an email that goes out letting all of our New Orleans staff members know that there will be a survey that comes out. Please take the survey. Again, we have won it for 2022, 2021, and really would love a 3rd year. So more information to come. But please make sure you look out for that email and the survey. Upcoming holiday, the next one is Labor Day, Monday, September 4th. So mark that on your calendar. And then the last one I wanted to talk about is 9/11. For those of y'all that are new to the organization and don't have much familiarity yet with AmeriCorps, 9/11 is the National Day of Service and Remembrance for AmeriCorps members across the country. Mike sent out an email to staff members. We're looking for 3 more staffers to join the planning committee to really build out our 9/11 programming across the organization. So if you're interested, we just need 3 more people. Please reach out to Mike. In the years past, we've done collaborative volunteerism with other organizations. We've done like neighborhood cleanups. We've done a number of really great things. And then also, of course, reflection, and want to make that a great event this year as well. And Q3 forecast, this is really cool, but SB Perimeter finale. Jim Feeney, who has been riding his bike across the country, started in New Orleans, has made a huge loop around the country. We'll be back in New Orleans to conclude on September 9th. So please be on the lookout for more details in the coming months. We really don't want to forget, and don't forget to follow him at SB Perimeter on Instagram. Highly recommend you follow because his updates are really cool. And then last but not least, the St. Peter Back to School Drive. I'm going to turn it over to Ashley Thompson and Renette Cook to tell us a little bit about the St. Peter Back to School Drive.
Good afternoon, everyone. So Ashley, in previous years, has led an initiative for school supplies for our St. Peter residents, also the residents of St. Cloud Gardens and the OH rentals. And we were able to pay for it with the budget from St. Peter and St. Claude. And as of late, we've been having some issues due to the outgoing property management group just not managing the finances as responsibly as they should. So we have decided to reach out to you guys as our team and colleagues, and also some donors to try to execute the back to school drive. So along with the comms team, we're kind of going to do a social media push, and we ask for your support as much as possible. Also, if you happen to know of any other organizations that we can partner with to have a successful drive, we'd love to hear from you.
Awesome. And so does the drive start August 4th, or that's when we're trying to have all donations in?
So we're trying to have everything in by the 2nd or the 3rd. The drive is actually going to happen on the 4th. So we're going to have the residents come to the community center on the 4th to pick up bags for each child. We have about 65 children that we're trying to help. All of them range from pre-K up to 11th grade.
Awesome. That's fantastic. And for those of us that want to donate or get involved, what's the best way to do that?
As of right now, we are building out the payment source. I can't think of what it is. And Jennifer, if you're on the call, if you can help me with that. But I think we plan to go live by Monday or Tuesday with the link to be able to support and donate. So we'll certainly circulate that.
Awesome. Great. Well, thank you so much. What an awesome endeavor, and can't wait to help contribute. And we will be on the lookout. Renette, thank you so much.
Thanks so much, guys.
All right. I think this might be the most efficient all staff meeting we've ever had. So as is tradition, we will go into some shout outs. Shout outs for those of y'all who have not yet been on an all team or an all staff call. It's pretty much open forum. You can type into the group chat and shout out a peer, a supervisor, a direct report, someone who's really done something great that you want to highlight for the entire team. You can speak up. It is a free for all here, and I'll kick us off. I want to shout out Nicole in finance, who has really done a fantastic job, and something that most of our team members really won't see in assessing our healthcare options, to really get us the best possible healthcare plans available, and then also work out kind of the finances. She did just a really, really bang up job in assessing what would work best for our employees at SBP. So Nicole, thank you. And with that, I will turn it over to anyone else that wants to do a shout out. And I see the chats are already blowing up.
I would love to do a shout out to Renette. Since she has started with SBP, she has just been steering through turbulence and unleashing her amazing knowledge, working with our current third-party management team, like she kind of alluded to, and she's just doing amazing work behind the scenes. A lot of people will never see all of the turbulence that she truly is going through. So just thank you, Renette, for dealing with us and for staying here, because we appreciate you so much.
Thank you, Katie.
I want to give a shout out to Hannah for stepping in and helping lead the fellows program to the huge successes that we've reached. Shout out to Michelle as well, but the way Hannah has stepped in Michelle's absence has been amazing. So huge shout out to Hannah.
And I just realized I meant to turn it over to Zach to kick us off. I apologize. I kind of stepped on your toes there, Zach. But Zach, would you like
No,
to?
man. Listen, this should be a sprint. I'm thrilled about people leaping right in to shout out your colleagues about all the terrific wins. I'm just going to give a couple out there right now. The Advise team has been in fuego, winning 3 contracts, writing action plans in Volusia County. Just one example. First of all, they beat a whole bunch of big players to win this contract. Big deal. Seeing Hannah's exuberance about it gave me pride, and I was thrilled. And this is really setting the rules of the game for a $328 million long-term recovery program. Get your heads around that. Like, we are setting the process, programs, and goals of a $328 million program. You guys should be super duper proud of that. RAF has been written into the state of Florida's action plan, or the conditions that would allow it to occur. And it was written in verbatim-ish, but I think actually real verbatim with the language that Reese and the team has proposed. Think about it. The state of Florida is going to do things radically different at scale because of the work of y'all and your colleagues. The fellows are on track to exceed $80 million worth of influence and access dollars by the end of 23. That is a big deal. Ryan is meeting communities that we wouldn't get to in the past, and he's doing it with a heart for service and less than zero tolerance for mediocrity. The development team is pulling in new dollars from new funders, which is a really big deal, and they should be awfully proud, and we should be awfully thankful. The advice team has also been on the road trucking around the country, sharing wisdom again that's going to get the scaled impact. And I'll share one more before I pause and ask everyone else to hop in. The Puerto Rico team, I think, deserves from all of us a standing ovation for driving. I don't know what you're seeing. A standing ovation for driving impact over 5 years with Edgardo's leadership and the team's incredible commitment. We started, we continued, and we continue today as the last rebuilding group, and are now launching affordable housing and doing an awesome job helping other cities in Puerto Rico build the capacity they need to really meet the needs of the awesome people there. So to all of you in Puerto Rico and those of you who support Puerto Rico, kudos. I'll pass it back to the team.
And I just want to say, I hope everybody's looking at my dog. Sorry. I hope everybody's looking at the chats, because there are an incredible amount of great shout outs there as well. I did have one more. Actually, it's two. Mike and Megan, our fearless AmeriCorps program management leaders, are celebrating their 7th work anniversary today. Mike is today, Megan's technically Saturday. So I want to give a huge congratulations to Mike and Megan on 7 years as staff member. So major shout out there. All right. I think we might be wrapped. If anybody has any additional shout outs that they think of after this meeting has concluded, please don't hesitate to respond to the video link that I'll send out to everybody. Really want to thank everybody for your time today. Great staff meeting. Wishing you an excellent close to your week. Happy Friday and happy weekend. And I will see you next time. Take care, everybody. Bye.